Hello, I'm Chuck at Spann Hardware and Equipment in Winfield, Alabama. So happy to be with you today and would like to tell you about all the things we have for the upcoming spring season. We've got you covered if you want chainsaws, weed trimmers, lawnmowers, zero-turn regular lawn tractors. We also have a good selection of barbecue grills, so come see us. Thank you.
State Bank & Trust has been invested in Winfield and Marion County for more than a century, and today we remain deeply committed to meeting the needs of local families and businesses with excellent financial products and friendly down-home service.
But more than that, we're dedicated to supporting the growth, success, and well-being of our community as a whole. Because when it comes right down to it, there's nothing more important than community.
And just like our outstanding city officials, police, and fire departments, you can count on State Bank & Trust to help make Winfield and Marion County a great place to live for everyone who calls this area home.
Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for this another day. Thank you for this beautiful day, Lord. Lord, I pray that you'll be with this council body, that we'll make the decisions that will be pleasing your sight and be for the well-being of the people of this community. I pray, Lord, a special prayer for the Ukrainians at the deal that they're going through with Russia and all the other chaos that they've got. Lord, and I pray that you be the leaders of this country that make the right decisions for us in this country. And be with us as we go through the rest of the week. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the, it's actually dated March 1st on the agenda, but it's actually March 3rd. We went to a city council meeting. Council moved, it was allowed to move the meeting for the ball game, Winfield State playoffs. First item on the agenda is approval of council amendments from the February 17th, 2022 council meeting. I need to ask for a motion to approve those minutes if nobody's got a question or comment how those minutes are written. Second. Either. All in favor? The next item on the agenda, I'm going to move number 9 up to where number 2 is, keep them from leaving them out and set through the whole council meeting. Kyle Road, I'd ask Angie to put this Kyle Road on the agenda to where we could kind of, we have discussed that earlier when we had a paving project going on in Corridor Estates, when we did Corridor Estates and we did Barton Road and Fairview and all the paving that we've done. I guess it's been probably 4 or 5 months ago now, the way time flies, we discussed that road. Linda Dodd has worked for that community very, very, very hard. They need to try to get something done about that road. Me and Todd have discussed it in the council meeting. I don't know if the council have remembered us discussing that road. The city does not own that road. It's not a city street. It was, for some reason, administrations ago, I don't know if it's, promises made or talks about it or what, but somehow or other the road got named Kyle Road. But 911, the addresses, the way I understand it, y'all's addresses are 171 and not Kyle Road.
Mm-hmm.
The reason, I don't even know that 911 recognizes as Kyle Road.
They don't. They told me they did.
Yeah, they, when I had worked on it, the previous administration, when I worked on trying to get that road, and I understand, I think Robin's been in there before and done repairs on the road, maybe done some filling, I think as well as Fayette County has over the course of time that they've done some work, and I think the city, Rob and his crew may have been in and done some work before. But for us to legally be able to do anything paving wise for that road, the city, it has to be deeded to the city for the city to take and pave the road. In the previous administration, which I don't know how it come about, which Todd may remember, but that's neither here nor there. Where we're at today is where we're at. I had spoke with a landowner that owns the property on the right side of the road. He owns the property where you go in all the way around to where y'all's place is. And he had told me, I had reached out to him about deeding it'd be his half, because the landowner's on the other side, the way I understand how the law is. He didn't want to do that at the time. He said when we got to doing that paving project, which I was worked on for 4 years in Carter States to try to get that project to come to pass, and it finally did. He told me when we paved Carter States to contact him then and have a price given to him. He'd probably just pay for it himself to pave the road. So I did. I reached out and had the engineer to measure it and give him a price. And he said that was a little more than what he was wanting to spend to pave the road. Where I had left, I believe when we had left that conversation and he didn't want to do it that way, the council actually had looked at trying to maybe do something with it, and we couldn't because we wasn't deeded the property from all the landowners. So I questioned everybody on the left side, I believe, and everybody on the left side, I think, would be in agreement to deed their part of that road through there. Who lives in the very back house when you go straight in all the way to the back?
My daughter.
Okay, there's a house there. There's 4 houses or 5.
Well, the house that Daniel Hartnett's on.
Yeah, I know Daniel.
Nobody lives there. And then Mr. Smith, Joe D. Smith house, nobody's living in it now. And then us, and then Lyndon Kenny and my daughter down in the field behind us.
Yeah. Well, I believe he's in agreement to deed his half of that road to the city, for the city to do something with it. Now, the reason I wanted y'all to be here to bring it before the council is I'm not saying that they'll make the decision. All I do is bring it to them to try to say that it needs attention and that we need to include it in the next round of paving or whatever we do. But there's got to be some legwork done prior to it. I need to know that if he signs off his half, that everybody that's in that, from Daniel Hartness on back to Kenny and them at the back, that everybody's in agreement on that side to give up their ownership of the half of that road. Now that's how I feel like that it has to take place, and I'm going to ask Todd if there's any other then we'll have to get the council to agree for having the road paved.
The road wouldn't be paved down to my daughter's house, would it?
No, it just comes.
So it don't have anything to do with their
Don't,
land.
just everyone who joins in that circle.
That'd be Daniel Hartness and Acker,
Yeah,
Mr. Acker.
yeah, no, well, I know Mr. Acker's everything on the right side. But Mr. Dodd, the Dodds and you and Mr. Smith, everybody that butts up to that road on the left side would have to be in agreement to, and I don't know if we have to have, when we get to asking a question to Todd, I don't know if it has to be a public hearing or anything of that nature, or how we go forward with it, but I do know that is part of the process that we got to do.
Let me ask you this, how did Mr. West pave the road? He's the one that paved it twice. How did he manage it?
That probably, no, I think none of us was here during that administration, and that would only, which he didn't pave it, I don't think, he chip sealed it. He put asphalt with the rock in it.
Yes.
Like,
Then
you know,
slagged it.
Yeah.
What we call it.
Yeah. Now, but that would be a question for Todd, how he was able to do that, but I
Yeah.
mean, I don't want to get into that work. 'Cause I don't know.
Well, I just thought, you know, if he could do it.
At the time, they thought it was a city street,
Or it was what?
a city street.
They thought the city did own it.
Well, what do we call the street then? It's a personal property street? I mean,
Drive, I guess it'd be more or less a drive.
I can't remember. Well, speaking of that guy that you spoke with, evidently after he spoke with you a while, he come down to the house and caught me there, and he was telling me about the meeting, but now he tells a totally different story. You know, he says that he had, I want to say he said, I told Randy I'd pay up to $7,000 to get it paid. Then Randy turned it on me and said that you were saying he'd pay for it all. And then that's when he asked me, he said, well, would you want to pay for it? And I said, no, I ain't pay for it. I pay taxes every time I get out of town, outside, but, our problem is, and even Shane Dixon, he's been up there since he got, is he commissioner down there at Fayette now, or?
Shane Hughes.
Shane Hughes.
Yeah, he's commissioner.
He's been up there in it and, with a bucket and putting
It
asphalt
was
in
his
the
day
hole.
off, he came,
Yeah,
he just came
but,
because of the road was so bad,
we're in the city limits and we're in the county.
Fayette County.
In Fayette County, it looked like to me it'd be almost common sense, that would be 50-50. But like you say, you're running into a problem with, like you said, it's not the city.
And it's not a county road.
Yeah,
It's
so,
not a county road, it's not the city.
I'd love for it to be 50-50. I
Yeah.
like your idea.
Yeah. but-
like I say, Fayette ain't gonna,
Yeah, but you can't go by
But
common
when the
sense.
probate judge is in there now,
yeah.
they asked me to come there, they didn't come here, they asked me to come there and explain to me, which Todd, I always go back to Todd, because he's not very much older than me, but he's been here, sitting here a whole lot longer than I have, and he's been through probably 7 or 8 different administrations. Fayette County, when the annexation took place in Fayette County when the school bus issue, these things changed, and Fayette County says up to a certain date or up to a certain time, if it's inside the city limits, regardless if it's county or not, the city is responsible for it. And I'm not gonna argue, I don't like saying it's their place or it's our place.
Yeah, that's what's
But I'm trying to help solve the problem,
Yeah.
and the only way that I see that we can is starting with Daniel Hartness, is to go around and stop at your place and get Mr. Acker to agree to the city to deed, how wide is that? That road's not over 12, 14 foot wide, is it?
Yeah, well, that's another thing I was gonna ask you.
You want to widen
Does
Yeah,
your
well, I
deed-
mean, it was-
Does your deed give you an easement to that? Do you have an easement, or, how do you?
Yeah, that road has been being used for about 80 years. Mr. Joe D. Smith, the house that he lived in.
It was just farmland, wasn't it, get to
Yeah,
it?
that house, he told me, belonged to his mother and daddy. I believe he told me that house was built in 1940 something, in the 40s, I believe. And they've been using that road since 1940, whatever, so, which,
And Mr. Smith sold it off.
Mr. Acker's wife inherited that land from her dad, I think. And I don't remember what his name was.
I think the true owners, that guy the other day that came was speaking with you, he's part of the family, but he was telling me he was representing the family, and Mr. Acker, the original owner, because of his wife had got it, he said it'd never be sold. I tried to buy it, and he said they would never sell it because it's going to the grandkids. So, you know, at one time that was a hayfield. So then they come in there and they put all that pine thicket in there for them grandkids. And the last time I talked to the older man, Mr. Acker, he said the grandkids are in ownership of it now. And that was after they clear cut it, you know, in front of me and put the pine thicket in and the pine thicket in the hayfield. And said it would, you know, said the Spann has been trying to buy it for years, but they would never sell it. It went to the grandkids. But you don't know how. But, you know, talking about giving you the right to pave it, what I want to ask you is, when you, say if it's 12 foot wide now, I mean, we barely can pass each other. And that works out fine with me. You know, I don't care if it's wide or not, just as long as it ain't knocking my teeth out of my head going out. But, like they say, the highways, like the state, they own, besides the highway, they own, what do you call it, right of way. Would the city, just like, say if it's 12 foot, would the city have like a right of way where it comes down in our yard?
It's not gonna be like, Todd he's gonna have to elaborate on that a little bit too, because a lot of times we're uncertain what the right of way is on a lot of these city streets.
Yeah, that's what, you know,
Todd can, like I said, there again, he does deeds and he does that, and he knows more about right of ways and stuff than I do. We wouldn't be having to impose unless the agreement was to make it wider, and y'all agreed X amount, you know.
You know, it may have to get wider because equipment wise.
Right, well, they can do, I mean, they can do it small, I mean, they can do a 12 foot.
I say, it wouldn't bother me, you know, really that road don't even come to me. It comes in, well, I guess it does, a little piece of my yard.
Yeah.
Then I didn't even realize that I owned half of that.
See, what Todd was gonna ask you is, on your deed, does it show that you've got an easement to your house from on 171? It does.
Does it say, it describes a piece of property and gives you an easement across that road?
I'm pretty sure.
You get it? Okay.
Yours does?
I did.
I saw, yeah.
It's been a while. I think we've been down there about 25 years.
Does it say how wide that easement is?
I don't know. I'd have to
Full
look.
money tomorrow when we get to the bank.
That's gonna make it a lot simpler, isn't it?
Who's giving the easement?
But if Mr. Acker never intends to give anybody any right of way, so what y'all are saying is the road will never be paved, is that
I
right?
ain't saying that. I'm not saying that.
It would just be, look like to me, it'd be hard to be paved, you know, cause
So we need to check and see if our deed says that, right, Tony?
I would like to, yes, I would like to see if there's a description of that road, of that roadway itself.
I'm sure Mr. Smith, Mr. Jody Smith, like I said, been there since the 40s. Well, he's gone now, he's passed away, but surely, way back then, there was a easement. I don't think they just said, we're gonna make a road
You'd
here.
be surprised.
Yeah, because you can get what's called an easement by prescription, which means nobody granted you an easement.
Okay.
There's just a road there, and the public has used it, or you've used it for 20 years as a road. Well, you've got an easement by prescription because you've used it.
Well,
And not that wasn't a written easement, but, you know, some streets, and we ran through this, and don't want to open old wounds, but we ran through a situation in Winfield where we had a city street that had been being used as a city street, as a public city street, but we did not have an easement or anything on record where that land had been dedicated as a city street. So the people that owned the property said, it's not a road. You never got an easement. There's not a deed to it, no dedication. It's not a city street. We actually own, it's private property. Said, oh no. We've paved it all these years. The public's used it. There's an easement by prescription. the public has been granted an easement across that, and it became a public road because people used it as a public road for so long. So you can get an easement by prescription, but I wanted to see if it's in your deed, if there's an actual description of that road in your deed. Kenny, in answer to your question, the right-of-way is only what you get. If we've got a 20-foot easement and our road is 20 foot wide, we ain't got no right-of-way. All we own is 20 feet. Just because we built a 20-foot road doesn't mean we automatically get another 10 feet.
Yeah,
Either
that's what
way
I
is
wanted,
right-of-way.
like I said, eventually
get
I'm gonna
whatever
build
you
a
buy.
fence down that road.
Yeah, whatever you buy, if the state's got a 50-foot right-of-way on a 25-foot road, it's because they purchased or condemned a 50-foot strip, and they put a 25-foot road in it. That's what gives them right-of-way on both sides. But you only get what you get, and if it's on the tax maps is dedicated as a 20-foot road or 20-foot easement, and you put a 15-foot road, well then you've got about 2.5-foot right-of-way on either side, assuming you're keeping the road down the middle,
Right.
and that don't always happen either. Sometimes the road's not in the middle.
All
of
right, like
the
Obi
easement.
was speaking in, and everybody knows how Harkness is. If you want to, you go down here drive and try to buy a pipe laying there, and it's 4 foot long, it's gonna be hard to get that pipe in your truck. And that'd be like going to Harkness now and asking him to, he may not want to give up that half road.
I'll be honest with you.
I'm not sure who's gonna need to give up the road, Mayor.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm not sure whose land that road is on.
That's why we need to see.
Oh, they're gonna have,
What we're saying is, he's basically arguing the reverse. Okay, if we have a public street, we know we have a public street, and we are closing that street. We don't need the street anymore. It's on the maps. We've got a dedicated street for the city of Winfield, and it's 20 feet wide. But we've never opened a road. There's never, you look all over the tax maps and you'll see subdivisions opened all over Winfield and plats up there with roads that there's never been a road. And those folks that own the property said, hey, we want that road closed. There's never been a road there. We want that property back. Well, when we do that, if it's 20 feet, we give the owner on one side 10 feet of it. We give the owner on the other side of it 10 feet of it. We split the difference, okay? But this road that we're talking about, that you've got an easement to, may be completely on the Acker property. It may not be half on the Acker property and half on the Harkness property. It may be completely on one or the other, or there may be a portion of it where it's completely on the Acker property, and then because of the way it moves and the way the property lines run, it actually is on Mr. Harkness' property some in certain places. That's what we need to see about the description of the road itself, that easement itself, to see who it affects, to know where to.
who named that road?
I don't know when it became Kyle Road.
It's been a few years back, but I remember they pulled up in the yard.
Fayette County
That's who I think
is who
it was.
came
Yeah.
and asked me what we wanted the road named, and I said, I don't care what the name of it is. But that was when,
It's like when they just started doing the 911 map, and they gave every county, every
Is that
road,
911
anywhere,
in Fayette County or
whatever
where?
name.
it was, who was before Shane?
Flitter.
Over here.
Because 911 in Fayette County.
Mark
doesn't know
Atkinson?
where-
Yes.
Mark Atkins.
Yes, he's the one who came, because that was, I guess that was probably after the store burnt, and Danny and I were down at the shop, at our shop, and, he came down there and said, we're gonna name this, and so that's when we got a sign that's, before somebody stole it, it was Kyle Road, and
No.
so that,
It was Kyle Lee.
The 911 guy come took the sign down. I was mowing when he came. He said, I don't know who put this sign here. He said, but this is not Kyle Road. He said, this road does not have a name.
And Fayette County had already told me that, because I called one time at
Yeah.
911 about
I can-
something, and
I
they
can
said
tell you
that they did
another
not
story.
name that road, and that sign did not need
Well,
to
I'm
be
gonna tell
there.
you another one that's not named. When you go past Hilltop, you know where David Prescott washes those cars?
Yeah.
That road that goes up through there back,
Yeah.
that road does not, nobody tends to that road either, and it don't have a
They don't
name.
have a name.
And that's like you're talking about been there since the 30s and the 40s or whatever, and I know those houses been in there probably that long, but they're not recognized as 911 addresses either. And that's
Believe
one,
me, the 911 guys went to a sign.
yeah. I can
But
see
they
that
don't know where
911
my
took some
house
more
is in
down
Carter
this week.
Estates.
I would like to see your deeds, to see what.
That's where we need
the
to start.
description of that easement.
I mean, there may be a name
Like
on
what
there, who gave you the easement? And that, if it is, that's where it needs to go.
So there's a lot of financial institutions, banks that won't loan you money to build a house if you don't have a way to it.
Yeah.
At one time, Mr. Smith owned all that down there, all of it.
I bet you the original easement come off Smith.
I don't know.
That's where we gotta start at, and I don't think we have a problem out of Daniel. I mean, I don't understand why anybody have a problem. They cannot keep y'all from going to your house.
Yeah.
I don't, it's the only thing it's gonna do is up the value of everybody's property around it, because it's got a decent road going to it. And it'll help the value of the property on the right, and help the value of the property on the left. So I don't understand why anybody wanna, but some people are hard-headed, I
Yeah.
understand that. But I think, Daniel, I don't think you'd have a problem. The road's there, we're just gonna make it a little better. You know, it's not that, as long as we make sure that they understand that we're not taking from them unless it's something we're taught, or, you know, we have to have everybody in agreement. That's like I said, I don't know if Todd finds out what he needs to find out, if that have to be a public hearing or not. I mean, I don't know what you go through when you find that out, Todd.
Do y'all need to see pictures of the road?
I'll have to think about that.
Too many
Yeah.
times.
It ain't pretty.
what?
Down it, it's bad.
I think where the problem would be, Mr. Acker. I don't think Mr. Hartness, I've known Daniel for many, many years.
One reason why, I mean,
They don't live on it.
the last, when
No,
was
he
he,
told
when did he
his
tell you what he told you?
Land go
But
up
after we
in price,
paved,
it'd do it.
after we paved across the road, Mr. Acker, he tell you all that about the.
Yeah, you know, he was there during all that time at the house. He come 2 or 3 times, and I kept telling him, I said, you know, that's between you and Randy, you're going to have to figure out.
But it was he said he was a representative.
Yeah, he said he represented
It
the
wasn't,
family.
it wasn't the older man,
You know, no.
Acker.
But I mean, Randy talked, that guy said he met with Randy, and he said Randy's turned the story on him and said that he would pay for it all, and he come to the house wanting money, you know. And I said, well, that's gonna have to be with you and Randy.
But what I'm saying is the last words I had with him, he agreed, I think, to let the city,
Yeah.
you know, take that, whatever, what we needed to do. But if we, which I can probably, I can get an engineer to give us a copy, get me a copy of the deeds. If y'all can't find y'all's deeds, I can get a copy of the deed.
We can get it to him here in a day or two at the house.
You know where ours is?
Because y'all two, you're at the end, and you're before him, and then the only other one's gonna be Mr. Smith's house on the corner. Who owns, that's not Mr. Smith's no more, whose is that?
No, that's, Gann. Alan Smith's stepdad.
Yeah, Jerry.
Jerry.
Todd, if there's a deed, if they got an easement in their deed, surely if they've got one to those last 2 houses, it's got to be described on those, don't it?
I would think so.
I think we tell a lot about it if we had a copy of y'all's 2 deeds.
Okay. Do we just need to drop it off with you, Todd?
I can tell you where, if you can't find it at home, I can tell you where you can find it. Deed book 202-2002, page 497
Okay.
in Fayette. So, but yeah, I mean, that would be good.
Okay.
And Carly should be back Monday.
Where's Jerry again on?
That house in the corner, right when you go down there and start to turn.
Jody
right
Smith's
there.
house, the one that's right there in the curve.
Yeah, we've been having problems with that for a while. Which ain't
Not
nobody there.
lately. They're all
Well,
gone.
yeah, they're all gone now.
They're all gone. Nobody lives there right now.
Just ain't showing his name.
Then when we get that legwork done, then we'll bring it before this group here to see about moving forward.
Okay.
And we don't need to know that, because, you know, like Todd said, it may all be on Mr. Atkins. Mr. Smith owned it all, I'm gonna assume it's where it's at. I mean, what I'm saying is it shows that as an easement from the front to the back.
You know, the road coming down the backside toward me, I know where my line is that runs, that borders Acker, you know? And Acker's land don't even touch that road on the backside.
Yeah.
And so it may be, like I say, it may be all on Joe D. Smith that he had done it, but,
Very well could be.
you know,
That'd be better if it is.
yeah, 'cause that'd just be less, try to give him
Less
to give
headache.
up.
Less headache.
You know?
And
We
we
know,
would
because
certainly
y'all live
appreciate
there, we know everybody lives there wants to fix it.
Yeah.
So then if it's all on y'all, we'll have to throw the other landowner.
Yeah.
So if you can get that to us or to Todd,
Okay.
you know, we'll try to move forward with it.
Well,
He laid
of course,
those down.
you can't use these, you can't use these lines on these tax maps for,
No, don't even try to do that. You need some verbiage.
yeah, because I was looking, it looks like most of the road, if these lines are close, looks like most of the road is on, from 171 back to before it turns right, and left back there is on Mr. Acker, but, everything that's going right or left is not on him, it's on somebody else. It's on either you or you. So that's really, it's just from, looks to be from the road back. I don't know, what is that? I don't have the footages on that, but
Is yours right there when we turn right? Is that yours right there?
That mine should
It
stay
comes up
straight.
there, yours comes up there, don't it?
Actually, we're using y'all's road. I've got a,
Oh, really?
yeah, we are. I've got a, where you turn, I've got a 20-foot or whatever easement
That's what I'm thinking about, yeah.
where Mr. Smith's,
In
the
case
land
it
he
looked like
kept.
your road.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And,
We might need to talk about
so
something else.
I got 20 foot below that road when you turn right that joins what used to be Mr. Smith's. That was for a road, but I didn't see no point in me putting a road when I could use yours.
Could we start another?
no, I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, that's, that little offset shown, yeah, I see what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it, I mean, worst case scenario, if it needs to be wide, it probably need to be in that curve.
That worked, yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, that would be good if I could get, I'd like to look at those deeds and see what the easement says.
I'll
Then I
see if
can
I
track
can
it
talk
back.
tomorrow.
I could track it back to where that started. But
We're gonna start digging yours up. Council got any questions or anything for them while they're here? Because they're gonna get their paperwork and the deeds and take it to Todd and see where we're at for us. Trying to, if we do that, one thing, I think when we do that, another advantage to that would be probably if we do, the city does take responsibility for that street, that will be a street, y'all will probably get a 911 address instead of having a Highway 171 address, because the street will be named. We'll ask 911 to come out, but when you dial 911, it's gonna call Fed. I guess you've already experienced
Oh,
that.
yeah.
But they'll know where you're at.
Yeah.
Instead of running up down 171 trying to find you.
Well, if any one person refuses to cooperate, is there any way to get the road fixed?
We're gonna do everything we can.
Uh,
Don't even think like that. I'm positive.
Well, yeah, I just know, you know,
I'm think positive. I mean,
You'd have to make that approval happen.
I mean, people slip when they get older.
Yeah.
Everybody slips some, but I don't think I have no problem. I don't think we'll have a problem.
well, sounds good. I'm pretty sure Mr. Harkness won't be a problem. Like I said, I've known him forever.
Yeah, the road's just.
Tell the state's fixing to take some of this land, it don't matter if the city gets some of it.
Don't want to get me started on that. They wanted to get out here at a decent time. And I know other people in here is too. Start talking about that. Todd, you good, just come get the deed with us if y'all are. that's what I need to try to make it happen.
All right, we appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all.
Thanks for moving us up too.
Yep.
Yep,
Good work.
thank you.
Think about it when you're easy.
Okay, well, you sure you don't want my picture?
No, I'm good. I've been on long enough.
Right down the seat.
Hey, you can get a new truck, just put it in four-wheel drive.
I don't have to buy a new truck, I'm trying to pay for it. This way, since it's on board, we're gonna get a park.
He may be.
I don't know.
All right. Next item on the agenda is going to be C3 agreement. Everybody I know is familiar with this invoice, with C3. I know there's been mixed emotions throughout the county for quite some time about C3 and what C3 does, and whether or not you get your money's worth. And I do know that there's some cities that has pulled out that hadn't, that didn't pay the dues to stay in representing, or supporting, I should say, they didn't want to pay the dues to support C3. But if C3 is in existence, and C3 works for the county and the cities, and the three counties, Lamar, Fayette, and Marion, it's going to benefit everybody in all three of those counties if C3 is in existence. Now, whether or not we support C3, if that's going to make or break them for us being in existence, I don't know that. I know that our support is needed for C3 to be in existence. But would it cause them to cease to be in existence? I can't answer that. But being, I mean, I'm like everybody else when it comes to the dollar amount, or you getting your money. I've been, this is my 9th year, I guess, here, and we've had a membership, whether it be with, I can't remember what year it went to C3, though. It was before me when it went to C3 or afterwards. It's right around the same time.
At the same time.
I think it's a different economic development call. It was called something else back when they done the Sitel building, it was something else. But I do know that from sitting in different meetings at different places that Montgomery, the people that makes decisions for how money goes to different counties and different places, all the people in Montgomery knows C3 and is well aware of what C3 is doing, because C3 is vocal there. It's like when Tiffin came, C3 was on board to try to help any way that they could to expedite this, and this. And you know, their knowledge of who to go to in Montgomery was very helpful. It has been helpful in the project that Tiffin did up here. We've got some, you know, when they know that a company's come in and took over another company like down at Joy Continental, Joy Global, C3's been right there with me for us trying to make things easier and help support the manufacturing business for people that's coming. Now, C3 has been more focused in the past on industry, trying to land the industry and jobs in Fayette, Lamar, and Marion. It's just like Fayette Fab. I know you've probably seen how in write-ups and different things about Fayette Fab. C3 was behind them making that happen. They make stuff for Mercedes and Vance, but we realized we need retail business. We realized that, and I have spoken that to the board at C3 and different ones, and they're starting to help us in that market to try to help in that way too, as well as industry and for as jobs, studies. They've helped me several times on studies that I need to turn in with grants and different things. C3 has a lot of the information because they have to have that knowledge trying to lure industry here. They've helped numerous times on that, that kind of stuff. I personally would like to make a recommendation to the council that we continue our support of C3. Because, I mean, I know y'all don't ain't in a lot of different meetings in different places than I am, and I see how hard, I see firsthand how hard that they are working for those 3 counties. And I see how well recognized they are in Montgomery and places that matters, in Washington, different places. I see how they're not just sitting there not doing nothing. I mean, their C3, the group is actually working really hard for those 3 counties to make a difference. I can see your concern with the amount that it is, but we've always been able to support it. We've made increases in our sales tax dollars during COVID. We've not had a loss of income or a drop in any of our income for us. We're actually better now than we was 10 years ago. We supported them then. I think that we need to, as being that we're not went back the other way for our general fund, being able to afford it, I just feel like that we need to continue to support C3. Now that's my recommendation to the council. I mean, I'll be open for any of y'all to have a discussion or not about it.
Well, I think everybody knows where I stand on C3, because I spent several hours with Tom, and I'll make the motion to approve.
Well, my problem is, I've been on here for over a year, and the only time I see C3 is when it's time to pay them.
Well, I'm responsible for them being here this time, and I also
So
contacted their...
if you didn't talk to him, was he gonna show up?
But I also talked to their board members, and their board members said, yes, that's what he agreed to, and that's what he will be doing from now on.
Let me elaborate just a little bit on that. When you got somebody that's trying to convince industry that this is where they need to be,
They can't be here every all the time.
it cannot be announced at a certain time. I mean, they can come up here. I mean, I've said in board meetings and I've said in different things. I said, you know, they give me all these stats, all these monies, all these figures, blah blah blah, and blah blah blah. I can go and just about sing you any kind of song you want in any kind of meeting and make you wish you hadn't been there. I mean, it's time. They can't always say this is working. They're supposed to be here. They're supposed to lay it out on the ground. They're supposed to do the dirt work. They just got to do that. It's hard for them to come in and give you an update. Say, oh, we've been talking to Honda over here at Tupelo. They're wanting to locate right here at exit 30. We're trying to get them a spot over here, and we've been pushing your spot. They can't do that. I mean, they can't come in here and tell you that it's just these companies, and to hurt, it could hurt being actually able to have somebody to come to your location if you sit out there and say that they're coming when they really haven't signed the paperwork yet to say that they're coming. I mean, it's hard to come in and tell you everything that you want to hear. I mean, there's some things they can't discuss at the time that they come. I mean, I've seen that. There's times that there's things that I can't discuss here in open meetings, you know, sometimes because of stuff that I'm working on. I mean, there's a couple of projects that I'm working on now that I can't discuss. I mean, it's hard to come in and give you an update on something that hadn't come to pass. Now, can they come in and tell you, go over stuff that has come to pass, that they were involved in? He could do that. He can come in and tell you that. But that's not really what you want to hear, because you've seen it on the TV or you've seen it in the newspaper already. You're like, well, I already know that. I don't want to know that. I want to know what you're working on now. And that he's not going to be able to probably help you in that way at that particular time in an open session. I mean, I'm just saying that. I mean, but that they're limited a lot of times of what they can elaborate on. I mean, I don't know if James said in meetings sometimes they might, you know, tell you that they're working on this or that. They might not want to do it in open.
Yeah.
meeting.
I mean, if you want to meet with him, I'm sure he'd spend all the time you want to in private, but not in public. Because there's things that he cannot say in public. He can't do it.
I mean, just send out an email, hey, we're still working. I mean, true, I mean, this is the only time I hear it.
Take my word for it, they're working.
Well, I was disappointed in his kind of canned saying that he had here because he was focused on one thing only. And there's more than one thing that needs to be focused on. He said the word auto industry 15 times, what he said up here that night. The world's bigger than that. The way the stock market's operating right now, you know, I don't know if anybody's going to write a check, big check for anything at this very moment. It's too uncertain. But I heard the same thing out of him that I've heard for years back prior. And I worked pretty closely with David on a couple of things when he was here. And when Randy posed the question about retail, he wasn't ready for that. He wasn't ready for it.
I think the reason he says auto is because it's what everybody wants to hear.
Well, it's, you know, that's great.
They think that's the greatest thing in the world is getting an automotive plant.
You can't buy a new car right now.
Yeah. Every time
You can. You don't want to pay the price.
And you got any, either one of y'all got any other discussion about it? Gina, you got anything you want to elaborate on it?
No, but I would, well, I say no, but yes. Like he said, maybe every quarter, if not come here, but maybe give us like email, kind of give us just an update on where he stands, maybe. Or what he's got going on, just to reassure us that, you know, he is still
I'll make sure,
working.
I'll make sure.
I gave him everybody's email address, so he's got it.
If nobody else got, you know, anything to say on it, I'm gonna bring it up for a vote, and I'm gonna ask for a motion, which James already asked, gave a motion, but I'm gonna ask for a second to go ahead and approve us, our sponsoring the support of C3. I'm gonna ask for a second.
I go one more year.
I got a motion and a second, all in favor? Okay, I need you to take care of paying that. All right, the next item on the agenda is fire department promotion. I got Chief Alan Stovall here with Winfield City Fire Department.
Yes. Well, we had a couple of retirements last year. First retirement we've had in a long time, but I had a couple of officers leaving the retirements. And I have one I'd like to promote to the position of lieutenant, Blake Farley. He will be working on his shift with one of our new hires. Number one, Blake's done an outstanding job with our training. He sort of took the bull by the horns with all that. He's doing stuff that I don't even have to ask him to do. He's very knowledgeable stuff. He's actually working part-time with Alabama Fire College. And I feel like he really deserves the promotion to lieutenant at this time.
How long has he been in the fire department?
I think it's been about 6 years. I don't have that exact.
He
It's
was
been at least 6
volunteer
years.
prior to that? Was he volunteer prior to that?
Yes.
Yeah, I know Blake.
He fully certified, he's got an instructor. And
He is fire officer 1, instructor 1, instructor 2, rope 1. Yeah, he's got a lot and he's working
Well,
with
that's why I want to hire him here, because he's been getting it the time he's been.
yeah, he's worked hard.
He's actually going to inspector school, fire inspector school next week. He wants everything he can get, and I'm trying to let all of them get everything they can get as far as training. And he's really wants to get everything he can get. He's working hard. So,
Based on his recommendation for moving him to a lieutenant,
yes,
I need to ask for a motion to promote Blake to a lieutenant.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
thank you.
Wait a second, since you're still here, what about the exhaust system?
Exhausted?
Yeah.
We're still waiting. We're hoping to hear something within the next month.
Question more about
I don't
the
know
pay.
when they're gonna release the
I don't
finals.
want to question more about the pay. Alan, are y'all, either one of y'all gonna have a question on the pay?
I can't remember his.
One of the positions we've got listed.
I haven't talked to him about the other.
Lieutenant is
Pay
on our
the-
list,
Yeah, okay.
but is Barley in step raises right now.
See, talk.
I think he completed his step down.
So he'll just begin,
We'll go to the-
he'll start step into
Step into
lieutenant or, yeah,
Alright. You just, when's your next pay period?
next week, the 10th.
You gonna do it then, first day? Thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the police hire. I got, Mr. Dewey here. I know his name. Aggravation. All right.
I'm Brad Morrow. I'm lieutenant investigator. I'm here for Chief Carlson's visit conference. Introduce y'all to Braden Wells. He very much impressed us in the interviews. We've interviewed numerous people. He's from here. He graduated here in 2015. He's moved off for a short time, and in that time he realized what a great city this is, and he wants to come back, grow his family, and dedicate himself to serving this community. So on behalf of Chief Burleson, I'd like to respectfully ask to hire Braden Wells to fill the police officer position upon the completion of a post certification.
I sat in on one of the interviews with him, and I have to agree with him, but I think it'd be an asset to put him in the police officer position here, being a resident in Winfield and wanting to stay in Winfield. Based on that, and we got no questions for Mr. Burrows, I'm gonna ask for a motion to put him in that position. Motion. Second. Keith, all in favor? Appreciate it, and we'll probably see him in uniform when?
Well,
12 weeks?
he'll have to, the academy starts in April, so he'll put in his 2 weeks and he'll get to ride, and we'll teach him some stuff before the academy. It'll start April, third week in April, I think. As soon as Judd gets out, he'll start.
Good deal.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on the agenda is community center work. I asked for that to be put on there because as everybody knows, we've got sewer being, I guess everybody knows that the sewer down there being repaired right now as we speak. And I think they're making pretty good progress of getting that done out there. Bobby, have you been inspecting and watching that work?
I've been down there, yeah.
I've seen them since the weather broke a little bit. They seem to be there making headway with it. Gina had asked me to, which did you bring her this? She had asked me about she has concerns about some stuff that needed to be done when the tile work, which they had to take out the tile, and the tile, was busted when the pet drain came in and did what they did.
You have some pictures.
Yeah, bring those pictures up here. That's a million words. Trying to, she's asking for, one thing that came to her. The one thing that she was concerned about is the tile not matching. Gina, don't say I'm gonna let you speak. I'm gonna let you talk. Probably gonna be some questions if you don't mind. And some bathroom work. to do some upgrades in the bathroom, and different things. And I kind of had talked to Todd just a little bit about the scope of the work, what was involved. Explain to him what you're wanting to do in the bathroom.
Like the picture that has the hole, when we're redoing it, we want to go back completely handicapped accessible, because the way they are now, they are not. And if we're doing the upgrade, I think that's something we owe the community. We have a lot of senior citizens there, we have a lot of reunions where citizens are there, senior citizens are there, and it really needs handicapped stalls. To do that, it will change the original thing that we did, because we'll lose a stall. Well, since then, when they have taken out the commodes, they're not going back with wall mount, they're going back with floor mount, because of the way the truck line runs in there, which is going to leave those big holes, like in front of Mr. Odom, that it's not going to have tile. And the tile is old, and it's butter colored, and it's cream, and we're getting new pretty floors, and I really wish you would consider maybe doing the walls to match, in an upgrade. And then the sinks are broken, and they're the original sinks from when the community center was built in the 60s. So I'd love to see if we do the tile, maybe a couple sinks put in as well. And it's the same thing in the kitchen. When they bust the floor, where the tile and the floor meet, the wall and floor tile, it's already cracked, and I mean, it's old. So when they bust the floor tile, there's a great chance that it's going to mess up the wall tile as well, so that the base of that tile is a mess. So we'd like to do the walls too.
Have they started, what work have they done on the inside right now?
They haven't done anything except remove a commode in the men's room. They're waiting until the tile comes in for the floors to start busting that up, so that we're not down so long for the senior citizens.
Okay, so scope of work is going to be removing a wall. Is it a tile on the wall?
Tile on the wall. There is a wall that if we do that, we'd like to remove in the kitchen. It's a safety issue. If you remember a few years ago when the wall fell on I believe it was the Cordova football team during the storm, during a game or right before the game, we have that same wall that's just sticking up out of the floor, and it goes 3/4 of the way up. So we'd like to remove that as they do the floor, but I think that was like $300 to remove that.
And did you mention something about countertops?
We had talked that if the city would do the tile on the walls, that the part would pay to have the countertops redone in the kitchen. Once you remove that 3/4 wall, that new cabinetry that we got the grant for, we could put a countertop on that and make that an island and make it much more user-friendly and just aesthetically pleasing. It would just look so much better to have new granite countertops in there, which would be a lot for us to buy, but it would be worth it.
Does that cover everything that you want to do in the,
Yes, sir, the countertops in the bathroom, and in the kitchen, and in the wall tile.
The wall you were referring to, is that an interior wall or an exterior wall?
It's an interior wall, and it really doesn't serve any purpose other than blocking your view of the stove. And I'm not sure if that was the way they did it in the 60s. I feel like that's why it's there, but I think with the upgrades, it would look a lot better to have an island there than a partial wall that serves no purpose. That's probably a safety.
Todd, me and you talked a little bit about changing the scope of work, or adding to the work that's down there. Could we possibly have this drawn up, the extra work drawn up, and get 3 competitive bids on it, if it's, well, let me ask you this, the money that the park's gonna use to tell the money that you said the park would use, Where would that money come from the park?
We have savings,
Out of savings?
not the building fund, they save
They
the
don't even
gym.
touch that.
No, sir. But just our regular general savings. We try to keep some in case something like this comes up and we need to add
But-
money to the
But for
cities.
y'all to do, for the park to do what you're willing to pay for, the city would have to do, would they have to do their part before you could do your part, actually what I'm trying to,
Yes, sir.
trying to lay out on there, the two different parts. What, just to, I don't want no quotes, if anybody's quoted, all I want is maybe an idea from you what your part, what the part would be in doing the parts that they want to do.
I'm not sure the price of the countertops, and I would think it would be around 5,000 for the countertops. To
That's
get it
your-
nice granted.
That's your rough guess
Yes,
as to
sir.
what y'all would be paying, would be $5,000.
Yes, sir.
So, the reason I'm just trying to clarify if the council would even, I know they got a vote to do it, but I'm just trying to see timeline wise and legality of it, Todd, how, if the council agreed to let them go ahead and do that work, if we'd have to bid it a certain way or if we get competitive bids, I told I need you to.
I don't see where you got time to bid it. I don't see where you have time to bid it.
Well, my understanding is that the engineer that worked on this project said that although it would be, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't want to misquote him, so I'm paraphrasing, but my understanding is he said that although this would be a rather large change order, it would be something that he would consider to be within the quote-unquote scope of the work because of the type of work that they were doing. So it would be something that we could do with the contractor that we've got down there through a change order, even though it's a significant increase because it's within the scope of the work. My suggestion was that we just to make sure that we kind of list out what we want done and have that maybe priced by some other folks, just to make sure that we're getting, that our contractor's not using it as a change order and, you know, and going a little bit higher than he needs to be. I don't think he is. I think based on the contractor that's down there, I think he's gonna do it cheaper than anybody else, anybody around will do it, but just to make sure. But I think that based on what the engineer says, I think it can be done as a change order within the scope of the work of what they're doing right now, without actual, you know, rebidding of the project, or bidding of that part of the project, since they're doing the work right now.
Most of that's Tyler working somebody else's, actually, there'll be some contract and that's after one. My conversation with him was he wouldn't take any markup on it, so it's gonna be here what it costs.
That's what I'm saying. It's not going to be. It's going to be what it is. So I don't think it's. So, and I feel comfortable based on what our engineer said that we could do it that way if we want to.
I mean, we can't waste time on it because you can't stop him from doing what he's doing and let him do what he's supposed to do, and then somebody else has to come back in and carry out what he's done.
Yeah, I understand.
We gotta make decisions now for I'm concerned.
What it's going to amount to what, you know, where I've talked with Todd and the engineer that when we put this out for bid, the engineer put it out for bid. This change order probably going to taking into consideration what the court's willing to pay, the change order is probably going to be in the neighborhood of $45,000, $45,000 to $48,000. I think that's right. Did you see a bid? I believe that was correct. Go over again what would be included in that price.
They have to remove the tile. We talked about overlaying it, which would be a lot cheaper, but to remove it won't stay the way the door jambs and stuff are to overlay it, it won't work out. So they would have to chip away and remove the old existing tile. And because those are just 4-inch walls, they would have to be very careful. That's why it's so expensive. So it'll be removing the wall tile and replacing it in the bathrooms, in the kitchen, and removing that center wall and adding the sinks.
And then the countertops.
Yes, sir. I think it would be something to be proud of.
And would that put the community center where you feel like it needs to be? Because I feel like that you might have something else on your mind.
I can't think of anything else, but I think that would be a great asset to the community center, to make it look more modern and updated. It looks pretty old right now.
It's been a long time. It's older than I am, believe it or not, but I don't think it's hard as old as Todd. You remember when it was built?
Yeah. Well, I tell you how long it's there. Mother worked down there part-time before Barbara Ferris. Now, Barbara Ferris worked down there forever. Well, my mother was down there part-time running that program before Barbara Ferris was there. So I was a teeny tiny kid playing in that. And I don't guess we've really changed it or spent a whole lot of money on it since then, other than closing in that little area. That's really, I mean, it hadn't had much, other than that, it hadn't much update in the years we've had it. And it is a used, one of the most used buildings we've got.
For sure it needs the handicapped accessibility.
I don't see how legally you could not put the handicap in there.
I think it's grandfathered in now, but with the remodel, I think that you would.
You need one bathroom, we'll have to do both of them.
Do we have to go back to tile?
Yeah, it's on concrete.
In the commercial building.
Keep them going back. You talking about the walls? You'd have to sheet rock and then put vinyl in.
Be cheaper than tile.
I don't know about that. Time you take all that tile out and then do it.
Biggest cost would be taking tile out.
And with
You got workers down there with sledgehammers, don't you?
it's
Don't want the walls knocked down.
um,
You want the tile off of them, not knocked down.
Don't hit it hard. Give them a 2-pound hammer instead of a 4-pound.
with it being a commercial building, I'd be afraid of.
Yeah, you have to figure out a bathroom in a highly used public building.
It's got to be. I mean, if you're gonna remodel it, you get back and remodel, let's do it.
See if I have anything
I don't know if that grandfather would let it go away when we renovate it.
Depends on how much you do.
We really pretty good deal.
I still think it needs to be, I mean, that's in the original bid anyway, to put the handicap stall
in one or both.
in the ladies and the men's.
Okay, now, in that estimate that I gave you, that includes pouring a pad for the dumpster. Bump dumpster needs to be set with a pad. And it also says now, we're just talking about countertops in the bathrooms, as well as in the kitchen area, what you want to do with your kitchen and the bathroom.
Yes, sir. And you can't do just regular countertops in the kitchen because the depth of the countertops, they're not a standard size. So unless you went back with something that was custom, you would have to build like a little uprise or something, like a big backsplash, because they're so deep. Does that make sense? They're not standard.
And you're replacing a sink in the kitchen.
No, we replaced it about 1.5 years ago. It's the sinks in the bathrooms that are, I have a picture of where they're old and they've been like hit on the corners and stuff and they're broken.
Probably a third. That's perfect.
It's that black and white one
Yeah,
on the
that.
top. You can see where it's coming.
That's the corner.
Loose from the wall.
Oh, I got you now. I had that before.
Yeah, it just needs some work.
What about, let's talk about the roof just a minute. We got a roof problem down there.
I believe the insurance company is,
That's what, somebody asked me for some information today, I thought, on the roof.
I'm taking Miller Rican today, and they're getting the estimate tomorrow, and they should start right after.
Well, we won't, but I thought we knew because of the insurance, because of the storm. I mean, I thought we might want to consider changing the top roof on that when we did. I don't know about keeping shingles on it. I mean, that's the only thing. I didn't know it might be a good time if we was gonna do that, to pay the insurance. So they're gonna pay X amount of dollars for, that's just a thought that I had.
They'll pay the replacement, they won't pay any for, they won't put you better when you work.
They won't pay what it would cost to do the shingles toward another project.
Not towards another project.
I'm talking.
I mean, but if they did, say they, someone's $50,000 for that roof, and if you can put metal up there for that money, you got the money to do it.
Yeah,
But if it's gonna cost you $70,000, they're not gonna go 70,000 or 20,000.
But they would pay what it's gonna cost.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Because you could better yourself if you wanted to out of pocket.
Yeah. I didn't know if that might be something we want to look at, because they're looking at replacing the whole roof. They're gonna replace that whole
And they're
roof.
about to start, so thinking about doing something different.
I know that's what I'm saying.
Did you get us one on the metal roof?
I'll tell you.
But we want to put it on there where it doesn't blow off and go over the
Well, I was gonna say, the roof that Citizen Bank put on, I think it's a real attractive roof, what they've got on the bank up here. I'm just throwing that out there.
I had our house was damaged with hail, and I got a full replacement. Of course, it's been several years back, but it cost me half again. I put metal back on it. It cost me half the price of that, plus what they paid me to put metal on it.
I just thought that might be something that, it would look better to me if it had a different type of cover on it. But you get what you pay for. Yes, sir.
Tap it in.
It's got 50-year roof and stuff.
I love it. I never hear it rain.
It's getting to the point, I'm gonna tell Gina what I told Regina. Keep on, we're just gonna have to build new buildings.
could you put Jill in it? That's the other thing that was up my
The
sleeve.
only
I was
thing,
gonna say.
since I've been here 10 years, the only thing measured that we've done down there is we took and done air conditioning work, took a boiler. Was it a boiler, wasn't it a boiler in there, or some kind of big system?
Two-barrel system.
Yeah, two-barrel, we took and put ACs in it. And they done the, what I would call the wood room, but the way I call that room where you come in, I think that was done prior, did we do that within the last 10 years?
We have, I got a grant for that.
Yeah, they got a grant to do the entrance part of it. We hadn't spent very much money on the community center since, in the last 10 years. I just think, when you're gonna spend money, gotta spend money doing upgrades. If you're getting money to come in, if you're getting money because of damage, you might want to consider upgrading the appearance of the facility as well. I mean, the council has already agreed to pay for the lean-to at the back corner where they go in and out with the food, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Mavs did it, but it may be too late in the process, I don't know, but I just thought that might be something Joe might want to.
It's not too late to get a check from the insurance company.
We might want to get a price on what it costs, we might bring that maybe to the next council meeting or something. And probably get the price on seamless roof versus what it'd be for the shingle.
On the seamless roof. Is that what you said?
Would you want to do the same thing with the weather shelter? Because it has shingles and it's compound.
They're doing the same thing right here on this building.
You mean that line stuff?
It'd be like some scissors and button. Those, you don't see those screws.
It's locked in.
Yeah. I don't know what the proper word is for, that's all it's saying. I think I'll do it anyway. I think I'll just get a price and have it out. But is the council okay with doing these upgrades and on the tile and countertops and handicap accessible, accessible bathrooms?
The engineer says it's within scope. I don't see why we shouldn't go ahead and do it, because if we don't do it now, we're not gonna do it. We can't afford not to do it and let it be completed as it is and then go back and tear it out. And then we lose it 4 times the price.
Well, I didn't know that the bathrooms were not handicap accessible. I guess I just never paid attention to that. I'm kind of surprised. 'Cause I think that's definitely something that we need. And I think all this other would be nice to make it look better, bring it up to date.
I'm gonna ask for a motion then to let them be a change order to do that then. To go forward, ask for a motion to let them do that, Jane. Agreement, all in favor?
Okay.
We'll see you next year. Next meeting. All right, the next item on the agenda is resolution number 1306, award of bid to cemetery lawn care. Did you get that taken care of? I knew we had meeting problems. This bid's been open by then already.
No,
They haven't.
they weren't able to meet.
Okay. Normally, the cemetery board opens the bids and brings a recommendation to the council, I guess, or the council approves the bid that on it. They've been not having enough. This past meeting, they didn't have enough to have a meeting. So I'm going to be running for them, I guess, and open the bids. The first bid here is, let's open it up here and see who it is. It's going to be from Big V's Lawn Care. Big V's Lawn Care.
Big what?
Big V, like Victor, apostrophe S. I'd kind of like to know where they're from. Hamilton. Okay, Big V's is out of Hamilton. Everybody's got, everybody had one of these here, fill out the form, state the scope of work. I assume that everyone, okay. Their bid on the cost of 12 mowings and weed cutting of the entire city cemetery is $9,000, which consists of 12 cuttings. Your cost for each additional mowing and weed cutting will be $750. $9,750 on an additional cut. Better put that with that. That's Big V's out of Hamilton. This next one, Johnson's Lawn Care, Lawn and Landscape. Johnson's Lawn and Landscape. They're here in Winfield. Cost for 12 mowings and weed cutting through the cemetery, entire cemetery is $12,000. Cost of each additional mowing weed cutting for the entire cemetery is $1,000. Johnson's Lawn and Landscape. This is the last one. This is Black's Lawn Care. They're out of Hamilton. Thomas Black out of Hamilton. Cost 12 cuttings, mowing and 12 cuttings is $10,800. With additional weed mowing and cutting is $900. $10,800 and $900. Has the cemetery used either one of these companies before?
The first one. The first one, we're extremely pleased with him, you know. He's done
That
a
first
really good
one's the
job.
one we're using now.
I haven't had one complaint, and that's so unusual. And he's done it the
He
last
don't
2
get a
years.
complaint about somebody on the cemetery, he's doing something.
That's true.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, based on the bid, it's my recommendation that the council take a big bid of $9,750 for each additional cut.
How many additional do you?
I don't know if they're one or two.
12 is normal, that's why Amy's got the 12 based on that. But your growing season might be a little warmer, might need an extra cut, so we've got that option in there.
We've had like 1 or 2,
Yeah.
maybe 3 would be the highest.
And I think his bid has been the same each year.
Yeah. I haven't
Gas
seen
prices going up.
So
Better lock it in
That
right
might be a
now.
good bid.
that's about what it was last time.
I think the last 2 years he's bid the same amount.
Same thing, yeah.
When gas was half the price. It is now.
I'm gonna ask for a motion, we get one from James and second to approve Big B's second. All in favor? Let's see this. Y'all don't know the reason why they didn't have a quorum?
I sent it to him.
Oh, did you? That was resolution number 1306. Resolution number 1307, garbage payment late fees. Need to ask the council to approve that 1307. We discussed that last council meeting. It's just drawn up in a resolution form. Everybody familiar with what we discussed, what we decided. Need to ask for a motion to approve resolution number 1307. Motion. So all in favor? Next item on the agenda is resolution number 1308, emergency red light repair. Start aware of this.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Because we've had some discussion on brief discussion.
Well, I mean, my only, and I want to make sure this is that everybody's very clear about this. My only concern was this was an emergency declaration or resolution, finding of emergency for the repair of a red light for damage that occurred December the 29th. And the question would become, well, why is it an emergency now? If it wasn't an emergency on December 29th, why, if it was an emergency, why are we waiting from December the 29th until March the 2nd or 3rd to deal with it? That doesn't, you know, that's kind of a non-emergent kind of issue is what it sounds like, but this is storm damage, and we are working through an insurance company that's paying the claim. So we're having to deal with that. It is under the bid law, it is what I would consider to be an emergency situation, because it's the potential for damage to person or property. And we presented to the insurance company a letter from the chief regarding traffic control. The temporary lights are very hard to see due to the angle of the lines. Also, the lights do not have a turn arrow, which has been confusing and dangerous for many. We've received multiple complaints and concerns about the hazardous driving conditions at the intersections. And for safety reasons of our citizens, I feel it needs to be repaired immediately. So in order to comply with the bid law, competitive bid law in the state of Alabama, bid law applies to this, and in order to properly comply with that, this council needs to adopt a resolution declaring this to be an emergency situation, that we don't have the time necessary to go through the entire bid process and spec process, et cetera, et cetera. And quite frankly, we don't need to do that anyway, because we know what we need what we have.
You can't get it from one place.
And there's only one place you can get it, only one vendor you can get it from, and there's only about 2 companies. One of them that did it to begin with, there's only 2 folks that do that work. And the one that the insurance company is going to deal with, is planning on dealing with, is the one that did it to begin with. So it's folks that, and they need to go ahead and place an order for these poles, because there's a wait time. If they place the order tomorrow, there's a big long wait time. Well, if we have to wait another 2 or 3 weeks till we get bid specs on the poles, go through the bid process, and then order them, well, we're only going to be further behind than we are already. So, for obvious reasons, I recommend the council adopt a resolution finding this to be an emergency situation, and that under the competitive bid law, that would allow us to then go forward with the insurance company with this claim and fix this problem without having to go through the formal bid process. So I recommend that we adopt that resolution. And I'll word it such that it's what we're doing and why we're doing it, and an explanation of I want there to be an explanation of the emergency situation, because, like I said, person might say, well, if it happened December 29th, why is it just now an emergency? What's been an emergency since December 29th?
Specs of those lights and what it costs.
I should have a cost estimate by tomorrow. He was supposed to email it. I know it'll be 22 weeks out, even for the poles.
Yeah, if we act tonight, it's still 22 weeks out, so we really got to go.
Yeah.
We got to move, is the point I'm making. That's as much an emergency as anything, is that we're still 22 weeks out once we...
Messed up.
Huh?
It's just messed up.
Yeah.
I expect to see a wreck out here every time I come up the road.
I mean, it's gonna happen. I don't know when, how bad it's gonna be, but it's gonna happen. Like if you're sitting there in a truck, parked truck, you got to stop back up here to see when the light changes. In the traffic, you can't, they sit there probably 2 or 3 lights trying to turn because
they can't automatically turn left anymore.
No.
Well, and I think what Brett said is very, very important, very significant. I mean, I recognize the lights that we've got now are basically the signal type lights that we had before. So everybody, and we've got the Guild on Green signs, so we've got warning signs up there. But the most significant thing is we've changed those poles because of the cantilever poles that we use, and the angles of the lights now are such that it's just, I mean, you can't, when you get to the intersection where you normally stop, then you can't look up and see the light because it's so close. We don't have the same structure that we did, so I think it's very significant. It's a very dangerous situation. We need to get moving on it, and I wish the insurance company had moved on it 12, 13 weeks earlier, but that's where we are, and we need to move on this tonight so we can get that on order. We're still 22 weeks out.
Let's go on the record that we was on it the next day.
We was on it the next day
to get things done. Done had the engineer and done had it set up to use the same company that we had. We would have done had the poles by now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question.
But we couldn't do, that's something else that I don't want to get into contest with our insurance company about, but that's a situation where we couldn't do that and then claim reimbursement. We've got to let them handle it. I mean, if we could have done it, we could have gone ahead and...
That'd be safe for what it is. That's why I turned it.
So they've got any influence on it?
Unless I'm going straight. I turn
Oh,
it
really?
back.
The
Back.
traffic lights, your traffic signals. Do you know how they turned on?
Yeah, we got insurance on it. Well, he said, does the state not have any
Does the state
influence?
have any influence?
Influence, not insurance, really influence.
I don't know, we'll get to that.
Because I think when those things were total, city's total responsibility to maintain them.
Yeah, once they put them up, they say, yeah, we'll put them up for you, and we'll agree to let you put them up, and we'll do that, but once you do, then they're yours. They're all yours. But you gotta get their permission to put them up. But once you put them up, they're ours. So.
All right,
And if you put it up without their permission, they'll threaten to put you in jail.
so we hadn't asked for a motion in a second.
No.
I'll make a motion. Second. All in favor?
Lights for Christmas.
Next item on old business, we'll start with James. You got any old business?
Our sign out front, the light, LED, what's the status on it?
Talked to them about 3 weeks ago. They're having some supply issues with parts, but they told me they were hoping mid-March.
That's not fun. Old business, it just really upsets me. We had signs made up here for the, housing. I'm wrong. Got the correct number. Put them up in here. 911 had housing authority to take them down.
I know. I knew they was going to. I got a call from the housing authority. I did. They didn't say they was gonna take them down, didn't say they was coming to take them down. And I told the council voted to put those signs up because that there'd been some complaints about different ones not knowing people's addresses and blah, 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 blah.
Counts Road down here, if that 911 is like Marion County 911, I don't care what you name that road down there, they ain't gonna change and send them.
They're gonna change what?
They'll send them to 171 in Kyle Road.
If we name that street, they will.
We got those up there named and they won't appeal.
Well, it's because.
Have you ever called 911?
Huh?
Did your 911 go to?
I ain't never called.
When I still live in Carter Estates, they put my alarm system in my house. They told me I have to go with the county that I live in. Something happened, alarm went off. Fayette County did not know where my house was because it was inside the city limits of Winfield.
But here's what they're saying is, what 911 saying is that it's considered Westwood Heights apartment number 601.
Yeah.
And that's what they're going by. In the same way as in Arrowhead, the streets
Yeah,
are
not
not
all
named
is
in Arrowhead.
Arrowhead.
It's just Arrowhead, house number blah, 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 Arrowhead. I mean, I had questions. I questioned that night, whether or not 911, how 911 was gonna feel about it, and I had questioned if those were city streets inside the project, inside the housing authority over there, if those were city streets. And, I don't like getting into who says whose way goes and whose way don't go. I mean, but 911 did, best of my knowledge. I think Jim may know more, but I think 911 did ask the housing authority to take them down, but the housing authority was upset that we put them up without consulting them first.
Well, the housing authority is the one that asked for it.
The way I understood it.
Well, it
one
was
particular
this,
person.
well, people like this one, but it was, I guess, the person at Gillen one is the one that 911 called.
Where's the main office at, Gillen or Hackenberg?
Gillen, I think Gillen. Because I was told that the.
Sir?
He's not there.
He's kind of behind the scenes.
He retired, I think.
Well,
Which I did not look into this, but I was told that the housing authority in Gillen had, their streets were named. And that's what they go see how, it sounds like to me that when we named these streets, it just never got turned in. Because they have, on our city map, they have names. But I don't know why it never got
Got
turned in.
two names.
To 911.
Ain't there two names on it?
Well, the first was numerics, then they changed it from numerics to an actual, to names. But it never got reported to 911 apparently, back in the 80s, whenever they did
Well,
that.
the way I understand it now, when a street is named, 911's involved in it. 911 is involved.
911 signs name.
They're the one that, they named the streets.
Because the names that, we didn't make those names up. I mean, Mike pulled the city map and those names were already on the map, correct?
See, that's why I'm wondering, did 911, did 911 not name those streets when they come through naming streets?
You would think so.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
Well, I've made some phone calls and I'm waiting on some callbacks, so that's where I am. I was.
Put it out another day.
Because they literally, I think, put the, as the term goes, the fear of God in the lady at the housing authority yesterday.
The Google Maps, some of those roads over there don't have names on them. Good name.
You'd be getting a phone call here, man, about your Google listing,
They don't call me
because you mentioned it.
It was Tracy Webb. Tracy Webb is who they called, and they got onto her pretty good, I believe.
Yeah, she was in the office when they called me. What else, John?
That's it.
Yeah, I'm good.
This right here, Regina sent this to me. This is some quotes, so y'all have, and I'm assuming the one that are highlighted, I don't know if she did that or if they did that. Because, you know, there's different sizes, for different square footage, depending on what you're wanting. And I know originally we were gonna have her ask, you know, if we got more than one, if we would get a, you know, price break, like if we decided if we were gonna go like with 3 or 4, depending on how many. And she didn't say anything about that, so this is what they had sent to her. So she mailed it, to Angie today, and she printed it for us all to have a copy. And the one thing that she did not put on this is, depending on the size, they have what's called pre-filters that have to be changed every 3 to 4 months. And those range from $8 to $12, depending on the size that you get. And then there is a HEPA filter that has to be changed every 5 years. And depending on the size, it varies from $275 to $355.
Reckon 22 weeks waiting on me.
Who knows?
Do I know?
You're gonna 22 weeks wait on these things.
Probably longer than that.
I don't know, but this, we're gonna use, the way we would pay for this would be through the,
Yeah, we got money.
yeah.
If we're gonna do this, how many square foot's this long show up to?
I wish you hadn't asked me.
It's 40 by 60, yeah.
So 7,500 square foot would take care of it.
Oh, yeah, and then some, it's not that big.
Probably 2 loads.
Well,
Well, I guess-
sometimes you're over, too much is not as good as adequate.
Yeah, because it goes from 3,800 to 7,500, there's no in between.
So, if that's the case, 7,500 square foot is more than the library.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't put a 20-ton air conditioner in where you need a 5-ton air conditioner because it's not as efficient. And that may be the case on this right here, that this $2,450 one up here for 3,000 square foot is more appropriate than the 7,500 square foot one.
Did you read where it says or possibly 3750? Read that, or
So were they saying to use one of these or two for the 3750?
I don't know what this, with 2 ACH as recommended. We need more detail on what all they want on these things. What are the ACHs?
I bet it says these right here.
I think we need to get the square footage of both buildings, and let this company recommend which one it is that we need for each one of them, and that's what we need to go with.
But weren't we also thinking about the community center and City Hall?
That was on the air conditioning.
No, it was on these two. That's why we were gonna ask if we ordered 3 or 4, if we got a price break. Because we were talking about doing the community center.
Yeah, but you'd have to do these by room size because you'd have to have one in this room, one out there, and one back there, and one over the police department. You need 5 of them in this building out here.
Well, but the
It's
community
not
center
big,
would
small.
just be one. I think as far as the community center goes, we were talking about the main room.
But you do 5 rooms for,
Air changes per hour.
Yeah, it just doubles. If it's good for 7,500 square feet, if it's 3,750, you get 2 air changes per hour instead of 1, based on the air circulation. So it's just changing the air out quicker.
they're actually just advertising, their advertising is misleading. Because they advertise 75 rooms, but actually it's not, it's 3750. Just have a high and low speed. So you just basically forget their big figure, go with the low figure, and that's what it works. And it would also depend on the size of the room, and how many times you change that per hour. What we need to do is get square footage of each one of them and send them the square footage, tell us what we need.
That's my recommendation, we do it at the library, and I think,
This is like buying off the shelf. We don't know anything about it. Make a motion to get square footage of the buildings, and submit it to them, and tell us what one we need.
go back to each other.
So the square footage of the library, storm shelter, what are we gonna do, community center?
Whether we're gonna do this, how much of this building we're gonna do, and how much community center we're gonna do. Community center by far is gonna be the biggest building.
Well, as far as, I guess, what we were talking about, just putting it in that main room, or one,
Put it in
or,
the garden room, or
not the garden room, but what's the other room
Oh,
called?
you're talking about room 3, the big room?
The big room, I guess, or, that's where I assumed it would go, but.
I'm not sure how that would work with central air, since it's a central going through the whole building.
oh, you'd have to put it in different rooms, because there's no way you can take one of these portable units and circulate air in it.
I think we need to measure the garden room and the big room, and use those 2 rooms.
How that would work.
You get Gina, Gina, so
I'll send her a message and ask her.
And
Because I
then
don't know if she was talking about the whole entire building or just.
we'll get Brad to measure this building, or I don't want to measure this building up here. You got anything?
There was just one other thing I was gonna mention, which I don't have all my paperwork. Something else I was kind of looking into that I found, that we might could purchase with some of the, COVID money is what's called a Lucas device. But I'm wanting to get some information together and present it to you before, I get to that point. But I'm hoping to have it maybe by next council. I don't know if you've ever heard of a Lucas device or know what that is. But I have someone that has said that gives you uninterrupted chest compressions, which allows your medic, your fireman to do other things while the device is doing CPR. But I'm hoping by next council I'll have more information about that. But other than that, that's it.
Keith?
I know we said something about it last council meeting about our street lights. If we could find an electrician.
We're still waiting, that's part of the insurance claim, we're still waiting on the insurance claim on it. Once we get insurance, what I tell you what I did and what I had instructed when Angie was meeting with the insurance adjuster the last time. You know, it's kind of the situation that we're in, is with the bid laws and all this kind of stuff and different things. I told her to just tell them, just put us back like we was. You take care of it. Just do it and get it done. I mean, you're gonna tell me you're gonna pay X amount of dollars to fix the stuff in the city. This, you want to send me a check, you just handle it. You handle getting the people to do it, and you get it done and get us back like we was. That's how I asked them to do it. It's just like the antique mall down here. I mean, this was in December. We in March. I said, and she could tell you what they said. They said that's what they was going to do. Now, how quick they're going to do it, I don't know. But she did the next day. Well, she's not in here. Yep. Then let's see. The next day, with the roofing company, the roofers was down there, I think, at the park, looking at that roof. Or there was a contractor looking at it to place a bid on. The insurance company. That bothered me a little bit, and then that's when I reached back and told her the insurance company took that to heart, and they went back to Birmingham and was getting contractors in that area to come up here and give a bid on doing these jobs up here. And I told them we need, if we got licensed, GC licensed people here, they need that same opportunity to bid on that job. And that's where we went back with. I mean, that's where we're at with on any of this storm damage stuff is the insurance. I didn't want them to give us a check and then say, okay, here you go, and then we got to go through all the process of well, not we got to bid it because of X amount of dollars. And I mean, I just told the insurance company to take care of it. I mean, James is in. I mean, the way I understood it from Angie, that's, I mean, I mean, that's what
But it's unusual for them to hire their own contractor to come and do the work.
It's a consulting firm that they hired that called a contractor to come give estimates on
Of course,
the buildings because they wanted
that's
30. One of the consultants met with Don and Mary today, and the thing with the lights, like each light has, you know, it might be the fixture, it might be the globe, it might be, so Don has went to each light, and he has it broke down on a list, and they've met with him, and, you know, they ordered those lights, and that was their project, so they met with him several times. I think we're closer, so, but it's not because they hadn't tried.
Yeah, just be lit back up the same way it was.
The repairs of this police car back back. coming out of on our bill right here. Why is insurance company not paying?
We've already been reimbursed.
Yeah, they-
It's in the general fund for every car.
Yes, it's been put in the general fund. They give us the money and we pay them.
Less the $1,000 deductible per car. Now, our claims for the entire city was $1,000 deductible. We didn't have multiple, but the cars are different.
But
Are they getting close to getting all of them repaired?
I think all the cars are repaired.
I just, you know, I didn't see the incoming money, I see the outgoing money.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
If not, I'm gonna go to the next item on the agenda. I'm trying to make sure everything that's gonna bring up. That's not really old business, but that brings up here, we're having a mud issue for some reason. I told her I'd take a look at it, and I haven't had a chance to look at it, and anybody comes in that back door is tracking it in here. I don't really,
It's a drainage issue. And that's from the fire department washing it off today, because it was mud.
it's good to show where this is the mud, this is after they sprayed it to it.
Yeah, it looks good now.
What's it doing, coming off the hill?
I think where that tree fell and they had to cut it.
I think it's just mainly from the storm, still the storm, the debris after all this bigger rain has washed it back down here. That's what I was gonna look at. Because we didn't have a problem with it prior to the storm, did we?
I mean, not like this.
Is water standing back there by the police?
Yes. Yeah, asphalt's messed up. And it does all kind of settle right there. But like you said, from the storm, it's just mud, and then where they clean that tree up there, it's put tracks and stuff, and that's kind of just washing, because it all runs right down hill to the PD door.
I think the best thing to do next, when we start doing paving again, is maybe look at fixing it. It's pretty bad right back here where the police park and everything. I think that's what we need to do, look at getting it.
It's not slanted.
It's always held water
This way,
there, but
too.
not like this. And that's where they wash their cars, which it kind of defeats the purpose, because it's mud right there. I mean, it's a lot better today, thank you, Alan. It's a little much better, but it's still water everywhere.
That's on the bill question, man. All right, next item on the agenda is accounts payable. I need to ask for motion to pay the bills. Nobody's got a question about what bill is going to pay. Got a motion from James. All in favor? I'd like to encourage everybody, if they could, which I know it's hard to do in the middle of the day on Friday, but go out and support the basketball team. They win it tomorrow, they won the state championship, so. Big deal. Big deal. I went and watched them Tuesday, supported. I mean, they took and represented the city well, I think. You know, we always appreciate them having a good character about yourself, playing a good sportsman game. They've done that pretty well. So maybe they can bring home state championship. Make Winfield be proud of them. So if nobody else got nothing else?
You and one.
Sorry?
You and one.
Did it?
The girls won. Yep, they won the game, so. Be nice to have two state champions right here.
Yeah.
In county, wouldn't it?
Plus, I seen Trey's picture in the paper. I've seen Trey's picture on a magazine somewhere. Where was that at?
5-time ACC indoor track champion.
Yeah.
60 meter. Won it 5 times in a row.
Yeah, he beat his
He's like
record
a robot
down there the
machine.
other day, last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He beat his own record a couple weeks ago down there.
Only person's ever run faster is Grant Holloway. my boy was in the Olympics. He's the only one to run 60 faster than Trey. He ran 7.35, Trey ran 7.40.
Half second.
Huh?
No,
10
10.
seconds. Or 100, 5 100. 5 100 seconds.
It's amazing how it can be that close.
You can't even say that fast.
Nobody ever talked about me that way.
So
proud for you.
I slow that close before it
Who made the motion? To adjourn. Second. All in favor?
Hello, I'm Chuck at Spann Hardware and Equipment in Winfield, Alabama. So happy to be with you today and would like to tell you about all the things we have for the upcoming spring season. We've got you covered if you want chainsaws, weed trimmers, lawnmowers, zero-turn regular lawn tractors. We also have a good selection of barbecue grills, so come see us. Thank you.
State Bank and Trust has been invested in Winfield and Marion County for more than a century, and today we remain deeply committed to meeting the needs of local families and businesses with excellent financial products and friendly down-home service.
But more than that, we're dedicated to supporting the growth, success, and well-being of our community as a whole. Because when it comes right down to it, there's nothing more important than community.
And just like our outstanding city officials, police, and fire departments, you can count on State Bank and Trust to help make Winfield and Marion County a great place to live for everyone who calls this area home.